Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have a very special edition of Final Two. I brought my hometown friend, my little sister, Heights royalty, Haylle Thomas. Let's go.
What's up, Haylle? What's up? How you doing?
Hey guys, how are you?
Doing good.
All right, cool.
So, what you been up to? This whole quarantine stuff. How's school been? What's going on?
Honestly, school, I'm happy it's over because I don't even know how I was going to even make it through because this Zoom was killing me. I'm going to be really honest with you. Zoom was killing. But honestly, just trying to keep myself busy as much as I possibly can without going outside. I go outside when I need to, and it's like the absolute necessity. But yeah, just chilling inside as much as I can.
How did you feel about the Zoom academic stuff before we get into the lives?
Kind of a waste. I'm going to be honest with you
Really?
because I feel like as much as I'm a person that I learn up front, like if I'm in the environment, that's when I learn my prime time. But being home, it's hard to it's like kind of hard to differentiate the mentalities because when you're at school, school is the main priority. Like that's what you're zeroing in on. And then when you're home, it's like, I'm home. I get to relax. I get to just chill. So it was hard for me to try and switch one off and then just going straight into the other, especially when the rest of my semester was still here.
It kills me for the seniors in high school. They couldn't even have a prom, couldn't even have a graduation.
I feel bad.
Those moments were like moments that you
look forward to the most.
Of course. And it's like, I'll be honest with you, prom isn't all that. I mean, prom is almost a waste of money, but it is one of those things that's a memory I feel like that you'll never, ever forget for your whole life. So it's definitely sad for them. And I know you guys went to prom together. Sal had told me
that was my prom date she was my prom date for senior prom.
Yeah.
We had a blast. I think we were
honestly,
the life of the party, I
couldn't even say like one bad thing about that prom. Like from like how our outfits were coordinating to just how much fun we were having that night. Hands down the best night.
It was awesome. We went to some like castle mansion. It was amazing too. Like the stuff. I don't know like what you did for school, Ali, what your senior prom was like, but like ours was pretty because we come from a small school in Heights.
Yeah.
We did too. We do too, yeah. We only have 1,000 people graduating each year. I mean, it was cool. It was cool. It was dope. I mean, we had fun. We had like
hold on.
I think our class.
We had like
our class was our class was
it was under 500
small.
people.
Oh no! Our school has 1,000 in total. I'm saying.
Oh,
okay.
I was about to say like our senior class was small.
And we're not trying to like put our school to shame or anything, but like to talk about like how small it was. So let's get into sports, right? So our school, the frame first, it's combined. It's a middle school and high school. So when we have like events and stuff, high school games, you will have middle school kids come to our games. It's very weird, but exactly. The community is very small, but still very supportive. So I want to transition and talk about, your whole career with track. I mean, 4 years in track, varsity, freshman year. I mean, tell us the experience that was like.
Ooh.
Big star.
It was nerve-wracking, 1,000% nerve-wracking. Because going in as a freshman, you're not thinking that you're gonna get that far. And for me, I ran track at first just for a sport. It was just just to try and be athletic and to say that I was doing something. And then it turned into a passion. And then once that turned into a passion for me, it was like that was all my head was on. Was track. It was like I gotta keep pushing myself, and that was honestly the mentality going in as a freshman that I already had. So being a freshman, everyone's like, who's this cocky little girl trying to take people's spots? And I'm like, and like that's where like I was like, I'm not that cocky. It was just that like I knew what I could bring to the table, and that's exactly what I did. So going in as a freshman on varsity, like right straight from there, it was like I'm rolling with the people. Like I was running with Jill, Jason, Giacinto. These two, they're twins whose times are honestly to this day still unmatched. And I'm running with them. So the level of like, you have to do your best and keep that there it was kind of crazy.
I got brought up to varsity as a freshman as well, for baseball. So talk to me. I mean, for me, it was like I was in a way an innocent kid. I was very sheltered. My parents didn't, I learned as I went about a lot of things. So going into a varsity program, it was like these kids are 18, 17, talking about things that I haven't learned yet. What was that feeling for you? Did you have that moment where you were like, whoa, hold up? Like, kind of opened your eyes?
So I was raised by a single mom, and Sal, you already know my mom is like, she goes hard. So she was very open with me about a certain amount of things, but as you said, like they have those certain conversations. You're just like, should I be listening to this? And I actually said that one time. I was like, should I be listening or should I just go? And they were like, and it was honestly at first it was like, oh my God, I'm a baby. My ears should not be listening to this. But then, as you kind of start to grow, as you said, Ali, it's like you're kind of like, all right, okay, I'm gonna be learning this anyway. But then of course, you're going back to I'm going back to my mom. I'm like, Ma, this is true. But it's like, yeah.
No, it just teaches you to mature, like
oh
at a
yeah,
young
most
age already,
definitely.
coming in at 16. How old was I freshman year? I think it was 15.
15 or 16, I would say.
Yeah.
I was 15, so I was always a youngin', and man, oh man, I was just like, all right, I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm gonna keep my head down. I didn't hear nothing. I just walked through there, and that already taught me maturity. Like, all right, for me to hang with these guys, I got to keep my mouth shut, and that's it. Locker room talk stays in the locker room. So.
Oh yeah, most definitely. That was like key for sports, especially in high school. It's like what you hear in there, you don't repeat, not unless it's to the person that was saying it.
But one thing I saw was it was a double-edged sword. As much as people love to see me on varsity, I had a lot of people come up to me and say some mean things to me, like, you were kissing up to the coach to get to where you were, or you didn't deserve to be there. You didn't deserve that. Did you feel that way as well?
I got that a lot, actually. I always had people, kind of just like in the back always saying like, oh, it's just because she knows the coach. And mind you, I've known my coach, Robert Brady, for a very long time. Like I knew him when I was a kid because he was holding a summer camp that I went to that me and Sal ended up working at. So it's like I knew and I already had a relationship with him, but it was always like, oh, she's just trying to be his favorite. Oh, she's just trying to kiss the other coach's butt just to try and get. And sometimes you really kind of take that to heart because it's just like, this is just what I'm trying to do. I'm doing what they're asking me to do. And I'm just trying to prove, it's not even like you're proving yourself to anybody, it's proving yourself to you. And I think that was my biggest lesson going through high school was that like, you don't need to prove yourself to nobody.
Nobody.
You just have to prove yourself to you. If you know that you can do something, you put your head into it, and that's all you really can do. You fight for what you want and you work for what you want because it's for you at the end of the day, no, for nobody else.
Absolutely. So, it makes or breaks you. I mean, I remember that.
Yeah.
I made 26 errors my first year. Now we only played 20 games. And I was a starter right off the bat. And I had parents screaming at me like, "That's the Derek Jeter you brought up?" Like, what? Like, that's difficult. It was a difficult thing, and I imagine you went through almost the same scenario, which is amazing. So how did you get into track? How did you evolve? Like, let's hear that.
Mm-hmm.
It was in middle school, and it was a friend of mine. We were like, let's just do it just to have fun. And we were like, yeah. I never took track seriously until I got to high school. Like, it was just like a little bit of a thing. And then there was a moment where I started liking it, and I was like, oh, I can keep rolling with this. But then we were at a meet, and it was like when you're in middle school, it's like you hit like the basic level. So like you just have like little competitions here and there, meets here and there. And I ran one, and they were like, yo, you're actually really good. And I was like, really? So we're at practice, and and I got yelled at by one of my coaches. And back then when I was a kid, I was a little sensitive. So I would just shut down. So I was like, I'm not doing this no more. And then freshman year, Brady, he was like, you're trying out, right? And I was like, no. He was like, yes, you are. I'll see you at practice. And I was like, all right. So I guess you're going to be seeing me at practice. And that's just genuinely just how it just started.
I love that you mentioned that. Like Brady, exactly. Same. Brady would just go out for anybody, like any athlete, just come on the team. He was he was a coach that obviously expected performance, but at the same time, he expected his players to grow. And you were one example of it. I mean, let's talk about the fact that you went to Penn Relays 4 straight years. What was that like?
Ooh. 2 words, pure headache. It was a pure headache, and not even in a bad way. It was like you know when like when you're in a sport that you love and like you're at that meet that's just huge, championship game, it doesn't even matter.
Lots to take
Everything's
in.
just
Yeah.
huge.
Mhm.
You have faces on you, and that stadium's huge. The first time I walked in that stadium, I almost threw up because of how big it was. And on top of that, it's televised. So it's not even like, all right, whoever sees it here is just going to see it here. Like, no, like my mom was able to watch it from home because she wasn't able to come. It's a great experience, honestly, and I was blessed to say that I was able to go 4 years. But even though I had one of my best meets there because we won, and our plaque is actually still in school,
Amazing.
I had one of my worst experiences there. So it's kind of like that moment where you're just kind of like, you never know what you're going to get at that meet, but every time you come out of it, it's you're a different person.
How did you soak in that moment? So when you walk in and you see this stadium booming, big, you know, all these competitors, top of the nation here, what did that feeling feel like to you? Like in that moment in time, even though it was a headache, like I'm here, and you're like looking around, like were you starstruck? Were you lost? Were you?
Most definitely. Starstruck had to have been my biggest one because, you know, I never thought that I was going to be the one to even get the opportunity to go there. So the fact that I did, it's always, even though I went 4 years, that starstruck moment was always a huge thing for me. It was always like man, I really got here again. And it was like, for me, I was patting myself on the back because when I was in track, that was my whole world. So, you know, I worked hard. So it was like every time I got there, I was like, I did this for myself. And that was just like the one feeling that I will always say no one could ever take away from me.
Talk to me about running, the mindset that goes through running. People don't realize how much you think when you run. I'm admit, I was a winter track runner my sophomore year. I wasn't good. I ran off the track one time, but I did try it. So I just know that when we ran, there was a lot going through my mind. How, was it the same for you, or did you just shut it off?
Track is a mental sport, man. Like that's the one thing that I feel like a lot of people kind of underestimate is like, yeah, you're just running, but you got a lot riding on your mind. Like I think one meet that I had, and it was a varsity meet, and we were up against all of our rival teams, and it was like points were being stacked like left, right, and center. One team's getting 5, the other team's getting 4, we're getting 3. It was like everyone was everywhere, and I remember how nervous I was. And in my mind, I can't think in my mind. Once I get in my head, I'm done with, because it's kind of like I'm already shutting myself off, and then that's just like it doesn't go anywhere. So I remember Brady grabbed me and he was like, get out your head and just run. He will literally just grab you and be like, don't think, just do. And at that moment, that's when I realized you are your worst enemy when it comes to this sport. Because once you start getting in your head and you're like, you start thinking about the what ifs and the doubts, it's like you're already taking yourself out of the game before you even get in. So it's kind of just like, mentally wise, I had to shut myself down, and I had to just think solely on who am I getting this baton to, who am I running for, and what am I running for? And like those were the 3 things that I always just thought about.
It's crazy you say that, because that's the game of life. You know, the self-thought, you get in your mind a lot. You get thinking, and when you think what a sport does, when you play a sport, let's say at a high level, you're basically missing out on a lot of things, birthdays, all these different events with your friends, but you're really learning what life is, you know, when you're doing this, because these are sacrifices you're making and you're getting in your head about that will change you forever, because that discipline that you learn playing a sport is just something that you cannot be taught besides life. You know, it's literally life. So that's big. You say that, the mental game of that. So that's amazing. Truly is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also wanted to talk about, you know, your relationship with Brady. You know, Brady has been somebody that's connected with so many athletes, of course, like I mentioned before. So what was that relationship like from the get-go and all the way through your senior year?
Brady was like a dad figure to me. And I'll always call him that. He was my mentor, because anytime, you know, I was going through something, he was always going to be the first person I went to. besides my mom. But like
Mm.
when you're in like a sport, it's kind of like you don't want things to render and like mess up how you're doing. So when it came to Brady, he was everything. If I had to talk to somebody about something, he was always there. Track wise, he was someone who pushed me to limits that I didn't even know I had. And that's not saying a lot because, I'm a very independent person. I work hard, but he always pushed to go to the next level. And he kept pushing and kept pushing and kept pushing. And sometimes you're like, I don't know if I can keep going. And he's like, yes, you can.
Mm.
He kind of helped bring me into who I am right now. And right now it's kind of like college, trying to find my way through a lot of different things. But it's always like, you have to remember who you are as a person and the hard work that you put into it and the fact that you can push yourself. And that's just something that I always brought with me because Brady knows so many people, as you said. It gets kind of nerve-wracking, especially when it's kind of like he can help you through anything. So when you're talking to somebody like that, it's kind of like it's great to know that you have someone behind you, supporting you and pushing you.
Mm.
Having a mentor is the best thing you could have.
Right.
Truly.
Yeah.
For anything in life. When is one time you felt like you wanted the first time you wanted to fail or give up during your high school career? When is the first time you were like, I'm not doing this no more. I'm done. Get away from me. Because we've all had those moments where, and especially running, I know there's a lot of times running, the hardest part is when you're running and your stomach starts hurting, your
Stamina.
Everyone was just gone.
Oh, God.
I'm not even gonna lie, I had a lot of those, especially, I want to say, when was that? I would probably say my sophomore into junior year. The sophomore year, I got sick, and that took me out. I got pneumonia and bronchitis all during my spring season, and I was out for a while. It was like about 2 weeks. For 2 weeks of not running and your health, that's just kind of like you feel like you're done with. So times wise, it was a headache. That was just a moment where you're just like, I don't even know if I can keep doing this. But I think it was also a moment when I was running, but my times were not where they were supposed to be. So I got bunked out of my spots on a few of my top races. And I literally just remember that I was just like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. And it wasn't even so much as the moment of giving up on yourself. It was just you're pushing yourself, you're working hard and you keep going, but it's nothing's really kind of, yeah. And it was I feel like I was hitting that limit, but it wasn't it was kind of, it's really weird to try to even explain because it's that feeling of I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing, but it's not showing for it. So it's kind of that was a very, very hard moment because it was I'm losing everything that I've been working hard for, and yet I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
No, there's a lot of people that relate to that. I myself included, with basketball, my story with basketball.
Yeah.
3 years, I was always committed to that sport, and I endured a lot of injuries. You were there along with me, helping me with in the hallways with my crutches. But senior year came, and, there was a point where I was like, what am I doing wrong? I feel like I'm playing to the best of my abilities, but I'm not getting recognized. I'm getting no minutes. They call it no burn, basically, and you're just being benched. And, I was talking to you about it, how stressful I was. And, my coach at the time, he just gave me a choice. It was either, leave the team or just continue to play and try to prove for your minutes. It was a tough mental break. And for you, how you were talking about, those 2 weeks and then afterwards your performance, you may feel limited and then you just quit, but nevertheless, we continue to still push. And that's what you did. Your senior year, you still broke out and did amazing, won huge championships for your team. And for me, I had to prove my worth and prove my mark. It was my final season, and I still wanted to prove that this is my sport. And what happened at the end, I was being benched in the beginning season to going back to the starting position by playoffs. And that's the story. And, I wanted to bring Haylle onto the show. this is my very special guest, Haylle. She's my sister, like I said, for a reason. And that's because, you know, our viewers can take into account that we will also have guests that maybe aren't doing sports in college, but, you know, they were amazing in high school, and now they're still using that same work ethic and mentality in sports into academics. So I want to also move to, you know, your time at Scranton now. You go to Scranton University. Talk about that. How that's
I
going.
do. It's different. It's different. It's not that comfortable setting that I'm always used to. You know, I had the opportunity to stay home, but it was also like I wanted to branch out and be my own person and find myself. Because, you know, we're at that age now where finding yourself, you know, thinking about what you want to do
Your
in
identity,
life.
your identity.
That identity.
Talk to me, baby. Talk to me. Identity, baby.
It's
I love that.
it's a hard game.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a hard
You
game.
gotta hit rock bottom to feel your identity. That's just a fact. You gotta be left by every person in your life, and the only people that stick around, that's when you find your identity.
Absolutely.
Back.
And let me tell you, that was my freshman year. Freshman year, I had the worst freshman year.
So talk about that transition, you know. Like,
Talk to me. I like this.
The world with high
Talk
school,
to me.
winning all those awards, and now you transition, and now you're a regular student. So now, what's that like?
It's at first, it was actually kind of refreshing because it wasn't like everyone knew who you were. You know, you were your own person. You know, you were just like another normal person. And then you kind of start getting into situations where like you're testing your own character and you're testing who you are. And I had to deal with that. You know, I had a roommate situation that ended up with me having an injury. And then with that injury, it really kind of made me put a lot of things in perspective about who I want to be as a person and how I want to handle certain things. And you know, I'm 20 now. I got 2 more years left, and that's like a huge thing right now. It's like you gotta figure out, you gotta like really test yourself in a lot of certain things and who you are and where you're gonna be going with certain like life and where your career is gonna be going, what you want to do with your life, if you want to continue. It's like questions after questions after questions, and it's kind of like sometimes you get overwhelmed because it's kind of just like I don't know, but
you don't know till you try it. You know, it's like you need to try it. I came in to after you my freshman year, like I say this all the time. It's like I had no clue what I was getting myself into, but it's like, oh wow, if I didn't have a proper structure by my parents teaching me like, hey, you're not supposed to do this, it was very easy to be like, hold on, let me try this real quick and slack off. Like many people do that freshman year.
Oh yeah,
it's a tough thing, and it's just finding yourself. Who are you? At the end of the day, are you happy to be you? Yeah. And that's something you got to look in the mirror and be like, yes, this is me. If you don't like it, I am sorry to tell you the door is right there. You know what I'm saying? Either you take me how I am or that is. Because the only way you can really change is you develop. You don't really change, you develop, you grow.
Right.
You know
exactly.
100%.
That's how I view it. And
likewise, you know, with me, you know, when I first told you that I was going to FDU, you know, I was a commuter, and, you know, I started off, you know, kind of as, like I said in the first episode, I was a nobody. You know, I was just going to class and then going home. But then at a point, I was just like, you know, I got to make my worth. I mean, this is a new start for me. This isn't Heights anymore, Hasbrook Heights, where it's like I'm going back in and out of school all day. This is where it's like I got to prove my worth and now start, you know, working towards my career. And that's being involved on campus. So I love that you mentioned, we had a chat earlier this week, and you mentioned that you got the spot with the RA position. I mean, that's a huge deal. And a lot of kids are, you know, working very hard towards that at our university as well. So what are the benefits for, you know, newcomers that, you know, don't know what that means, being an RA, and how hard did you work for it?
It's like you're facing competition all the time. Like you're always gonna have people who have, you know, better grades. Like the aspect of who you are as a person go toward, you know, you being an RA, your grades, what you're doing on campus, if you've gotten into any type of trouble. So it's kind of just like you have to zero in. Like you want something, you have to really understand how important that is for you. And for me, being an RA, it was like a moment of just like, do you want this? And that's all I kept asking myself was like, do you want this? And I was like, yeah. So you work for it. You know, my grades weren't at the place that I wanted them to be, but I worked for it and I got my grade point average up. You know, I'm working for the Multicultural Center, and I'm working for UCO. UCO is a United Cultures organization, and that's just like for minorities. So like, you know, I go to a school that's predominantly white. So when you have a club that you know that you can just feel comfortable, you don't even have to feel like, you know, like just like that feeling of just like, you know what, I got my own little group of people. And that's what that means. So it's like it's a huge thing. So when they see what you're doing, you don't even have to do anything that you don't want to do. It can be a club just to be an active member, but you have to really work on you. You know, your grades are a huge factor of it, what you're doing, and you got to stay out of trouble.
How does it feel to be active? Like, I don't think people realize how important it is to be active in college. And I feel like you guys are two great examples of you don't need to be an athlete to be active. Can you add on to that a little story, Sal or Haylle, about the importance of being active in college and not sitting in your dorm all day and saying, nah, I'll go to the party on Thursday. I'll be active then.
I'll let Haylle talk first about it because, you know, she's been a resident for almost 3 years now. This is my first year, so Haylle, talk about it first.
Honestly, it's important. You gotta get yourself out there. If I never did, the people that I met who are in my life, who are my closest friends, you know, I would never have met them if I never got out there. For you to get out there, that's putting yourself out there, of course, but you're opening yourself up to so many new people, different people who are not like you. And sometimes that doesn't work out, but then sometimes it does, and you meet some of your closest friends that you want to take with you through life as it is. And I got out there by, you know, being in the Multicultural Center and being in UCO. And to say that I would want to change it, I'd be lying. I would 100% be lying, because not only does it builds your character. It builds who you are, it builds your identity, but it kind of gives you a perspective on people who are different. You know, and that's exactly what life is. Life is, you're going to be meeting people who are not going to be like you. And you have to know how to handle them. You need to know how to handle yourself in situations. And that's what I got. You know, I'm a junior now, rising junior, living on campus. And it's like, you see so many different things. And sometimes you're like, is this for me? Like, you kind of like just get given like the side eye, but at the same time, you're like, you know what? Try it. You don't like it, you don't have to do it again. But you broke your atmosphere of being comfortable.
Exactly. I was actually about to say that, you know, it's all about stepping out of your shell, basically, breaking that atmosphere, as you mentioned. You know, this is a new beginning for all new students, whether you're an athlete or just a regular student coming in. And the whole idea of getting involved doesn't mean you have to be, you know, awkward and, you know, foolish or any way. It just means to be involved in your community, to be, you know, a voice, to have a presence, and of course, to manifest and network with everyone. For instance, you know, I said that I started off with SGA, and that was like what really kickstarted my like not career, but my experience at FDU, because I got to learn about new clubs and organizations. I got to meet, you know, players and teams by going out for different events. That's how I got close with the basketball team afterwards. Then funny story, I told Haylle that, you know, I became the mascot for the team. She couldn't believe it, but she knew that I had dance moves and all that, so she was like, I'm not surprised.
Sal could dance. Sal could dance.
Sal's been dancing like this since we were in kindergarten.
Sal
boy never stops.
Oh my.
Boy never stops.
God.
But exactly, I just used my talent, and, you know, I just wanted to entertain and, you know, not only bring joy into the community at FDU, but also to bring in more fans, because that was our issue. We weren't getting enough fans in the games and stuff. But people were enjoying it, you know. And afterwards, I told Haylle that, you know, I was working my ass off just applying for scholarships and all that, you know, applying for different scholarships from the business department, the programs. And lucky enough, I mean, I got to land the hugest scholarship, the Robert F. Needham Family Memorial Scholarship. Covers room and board, you know, something out of nothing. Like I said, I came in as a commuter and I didn't know what to expect. You know, me and Haylle were talking about what colleges we're going to go to and all that. I want to go to Rutgers. I want to go to et cetera, whatever. And you know, although I went to a small community, a small university, as a lot of people would say, I would say me and Ali have taken advantage, and, you know, we took like a blank canvas and painted a beautiful image, a huge, you know, like story behind it. And that's what people have to consider. You know, you shouldn't be depressed or whatever. It's how you make of the college, I would say.
I just view it as you go to a big time school, and the excuse you hear a lot is, I went to a big time school, it's hard to make it out. You go to a middle low school, it was too low for me to make it out. Listen to me right now. It's all on you to go make it happen. No one, it's on you. It's you as a person. What do you want for your life? Do you want success? It's going to come at your door, right? It's just going to come at your door. You know what I'm saying? Like, go make it happen. Go try new things. Like, I'll be honest with you. I had some health condition, which I had to retire from baseball. And I cried. The day I got told that, I cried. I was just kind of like, dang, like, I really got to hang it up. And I cried. But I realized, like, it's okay. I'm going to make it out no matter what. I just got to find out what's the new thing for me. And that's what I'm trying to find. Thank you, Lord Jesus Christ. I found my identity, which helped me find what my next path is. And I don't know what it is yet, but I know that every opportunity I'm given right now, I'm making the best out of it. And that's all I can do. So if tomorrow something happens to me and I die, I know that I lived that day happiness. I don't have hate in my heart. I don't do that. I just make it happen. You know what I mean? I hate excuses. Yeah. It's just one of those things that just go do it, man. Just go do it.
Especially with opportunities in front of you, you know.
Of course.
You have many businesses, clubs, organizations. As Haylle mentioned, the organization she's a part of, you know, there's something out for anybody. And you have to take advantage of it. You can't just sit back and you just watch and just go to class and leave. Because you're just throwing away your college experience, and then you're going to go out into the world and have no idea what to do. This is all about learning. It's a learning experience.
Building off of that, I feel like people also need to stop being scared. You know, like opportunities that you're going to be hit with.
Talk to me. Yeah.
You can't be scared about it. Like, you kind of just got to be like, this is what I got. And even though I'm not comfortable with it, I got to try it. Because even if you may not end up, you may not even like it. You may not even like it. Mm-hmm. But you don't know what doors that's opening up for you. Like, you don't know who's watching. You don't know who's paying attention when you're like, you know what, I think I'm done. So it's like that mindset that you just got to just get out there. As you guys said, just get out there. You may not like it. It may not be comfortable for you, but you're trying. And trying is better than just making an excuse and being like, you know, well, I can always do it tomorrow.
It's amazing you guys say that, because I remember coming in when I was 4 years old to elementary school, and I had to learn the language, had to go through the whole barrier. But I somehow, some way, since I was little, I worked hard. And when I ended up graduating in 5th grade, I got like a whole bunch of awards. Like, my parents cried after that, because I got like every award, like athletic award, academic, like all these little awards that, you know, made me feel good. Middle school, I didn't do that. I didn't really achieve those awards, and I felt like something was missing from my life. And then high school, I said to myself the same thing I'm doing in college is make the best out of this. I was a vice president of multiple clubs. I was still the athlete. I won Division I and ended up winning a whole bunch of awards in our athletic thing, whatever. And I have, like, you see in the back of me, it's just, you know, it's just one of those things that you just work for, you know, and it just makes you like you accomplish something. Just go accomplish something, man. Be someone that kids want to look up to. Like, that's what me every day. I want these kids to look up to me, you know? And I don't know. It's just, I'm rambling right now, but.
One more thing I want to ask, and, you know, again, we want to shout out, like, how amazing you were in high school with track. You know, what were some, you know, elements and aspects of your time in track that you took into consideration and brought it into your world in college now? Like, what did you learn from there that Brady taught you or the sport taught you into your own life?
Competition is real. That's one thing. Competition is real.
Huge. That was a good one. I never heard that one.
It's the idea that you are going to have somebody who is 10 times better than you. And that can be your make or break moment. And for me, that's exactly what that was. Like, in track, it was good. You know, I worked hard, and I can always say that I worked hard, but you're always going to have somebody who is 10 times better than you. Sal, do you remember Crystal Lichtenberg?
Yes.
Like, she came in, rocked my world completely. This is beautiful girl,
She was a transfer,
athletic.
yeah.
She was a transfer, came on the track team, and she ended up taking my spot. And part of me was just like, who is this chick? Where did she come from? And why is she taking my spot? Like, I work hard for my spot. Like, why are you gonna try to take it? Like, I was just, like, I was at that point, I was just mad. But when I got to know her as a person, I respected her 10 times more. Because who she was as a person, she helped push me to things that I honestly never thought I could. My senior year, honestly, I give my senior year to the seniors who were there before me because they were my competition, but they pushed me to do so much. I broke 60. I ran a 59 my senior year. That was something, that was my goal. To end my senior year was to break 60. And break 60, that basically means there's 60 seconds in a minute. I ran quicker than a minute for a 4x4, for my 400s.
Wow.
And that was a moment that I will forever give to those seniors because they are what pushed me. You know, I had Marissa Romano, Vincent Marchese, Robert Brady, you know, I had all these people, but it was like, you need competition to push yourself to know you got so much more in you. And that's going to be a hard thing that a lot of people are going to get hit with, you know, once you go out into the real world, because whatever job you want, whatever you may want, that work ethic that you have to have is that you're not always going to be better than the next person. But you got to take what they're giving you. Like if that's a competition, cool. Use that to make yourself work a little bit harder. So you're pushing yourself, because at the end of the day, that's all you can do. You have to push yourself to get what you want. And honestly, that's something that I will take with me to the day that I die, because it's true. You know, the world is changing, yes, and you're going to have people who are going to be smarter than you know, what's the better school than you. But that doesn't lessen you any more than a person, because you still got you. You still know what you're working for. You still know how hard you're going to be working for it. So that would honestly be that's my top thing.
To add to what you said, I feel like it's just investing in yourself. You know?
Yeah.
I feel like we invest so much in shoes and this and clothes, but it's like investing in yourself and your mental health and who you are. Sitting down, reading a book, doing things to upgrade. You know what I'm saying? Like we upgrade our phones all the time. Why? So it doesn't stay stagnant, stays the same thing. We got to keep upgrading. You know, and it's just, I feel like that's one of the things you hit right there is just you invested in yourself, you grew. The competition made you grow, made you upgrade. You like a phone, it made you upgrade. Click that upgrade button on your phone, you know, and it's that's what it's all about, man. I feel like that's what it is, you know. Yeah. How was it for you finishing track when that's it, you're going to college, you don't want to do track anymore? What was that feeling? Were you feeling good or what was it? What was that feeling?
It was a lot of feelings, because it was like I'm leaving behind someone that I didn't know if I could part with. And it's not even saying, because like who I am now, honestly, I'm not the same person in high school. I feel like no one is, because you go through situations that really build you up. So, you know, me saying that I didn't want to do track anymore, it was kind of like I'm leaving a love behind. You know, I was leaving a family behind, but not even for nothing. You know, I still talk to the people that, you know, I ran with, but it was kind of just like, I kind of had to make that decision of like, if this is what I wanted to do. And as much as I love track, it will always have a part of me that nobody can touch. But it was just like the idea that I had to pick something, and I picked school because what I want to do with my life, it's a lot, you know, and I know myself more than anything. And if I'm trying to focus on my career and what I want to do with my life as I go through school, graduate school, getting my doctorates, I kind of had to just make that decision. So it was a hard decision. It wasn't like the easiest one, but I'm not going to sit here and say I regret it.
Of course not. What's your major in college right now?
I'm a psych major with a French minor.
French, bonjour, bon ouais. Oh, petit. Oh, my friends.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Haylle, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Seriously.
It's been a pleasure being here. I love the thing. I love what you guys are doing.
We had a great
honestly.
combo. Appreciate that for real.
Thank you for being on.
You guys are being a great voice right now. And I feel like with everything that's negative that's going on, just to put a little crack a smile on somebody's face and just to really reflect, because I feel like this is a time where everyone can just really just reflect and see what you want to do with your life and what you really want to do. So I commend you guys, because this is amazing.
I just want to we just created a platform to just, everybody has a story. Everybody should be heard. I just want to make it clear to everyone that everyone goes through something. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not alone. There's going to be something you're going to hear on this podcast. It's like, oh, shoot, I'm not alone about that. I think that all the time. I'm just afraid to say it, you know? And it's just, that's, and I appreciate you saying that. That's why we're doing this, and we love having you on the show, Haylle. It's amazing.
Thank you, guys.
Definitely an inspiration. Thank you for being on the show.
Forever.
Love you, bro.
It's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you for watching the Final Two podcast. It's been a pleasure having you, Haylle.
Thank you.
Peace out, guys.
Boom.